I've played Chrono Odyssey's beta for 2 days and 11 hours total. Today is June 21st. The playtest will be open for one more day, but I am most likely not going to play any longer during this beta iteration because I believe in the current state we've seen enough, and the most important feedback is blatantly obvious. The game is just super rough and unpolished at the most basic levels, and it's currently very far from a complete finished product. Movement feels floaty and lacks precision. Combat has a very good foundation, but certain skills of certain classes are pretty sloppy with their hitboxes and animations, and many enemies are sloppy too, including Chrono Gate bosses. I beat the first three of them with a bare minimum level and gear on two different classes, Swordsman and Ranger, so I have experienced those fights to their fullest extent, saw every single boss pattern and mechanic, and yeah, they clearly have a good foundation. Like, it's fun to do them, but combat definitely can use some work, and it can be much better than it currently is. Class balance is also incomplete at all, as the Rangers are essentially playing on easy mode with both bow and X-bow, especially if you have some basic aiming skills on mouse and keyboard and can consistently land headshots, which is not that hard. The same can be said about field bosses. I fought two of them, a scorpion and a small fire-breathing dragon, and it feels very dangerous to fight them in melee as opposed to just shooting from distance and kiting all attacks if you get random aggro. A lot of people would say, man, this is a beta. The game will improve by the full release. Well, the problem is that yes, it will improve, but I honestly don't understand why they decided to call this a beta test and not an alpha. I've heard some people saying that it's an alpha is too harsh because the game is clearly more complete than something like Ashes of Creation, for example. But I would only agree with that in a sense of amount of content, but not the basic components and mechanics. The game right now is in a very weird situation where it kind of has a lot of stuff for players to do. Exploration, boss fights, quests, mobbing, crafting. They're working on this Eden PvPvE mode, whatever it is. But at the same time, at the most basic levels, the game looks and plays like shit, which makes me a little scared because I don't understand why the devs are focusing so much on content when the basic things in the game are broken. Like, are they okay with how the game looks and plays at the moment? Do they think it's good enough to just let it pass and focus on making variety of content? I would totally disagree if that's the case. Their planned release date is still Q4 2025, and there was even a tweet by the lead dev, or someone at the team, I'm not sure, which essentially said, hey, we appreciate the feedback, but we are still confident in our game and our planned release date, and we're going to improve the game on the fly after it comes out. And also implied that there is a better, more complete developer build of the game, which for some weird reasons they were not able to push out for this beta. It's kind of getting annoying at this point. Like, prior to this beta, all the info that they teased and drip fed to us was implying that the game's pretty much done and only needs some finishing touches. And a lot of people fell for that really hard, and I honestly can't blame them. There are two major factors that led to it. First of all is that the MMO market is a wasteland and people were desperate for a big new MMO game. And second is, again, the way they presented themselves and the game, and vast majority of these exclusive early access content creators who never openly admitted that the game is an unpolished slop at the moment and can only dream of releasing, and instead were just hyping it up. And when the NDA was finally lifted, people were looking at the actual footage and getting disappointed. But then there were also many people who were saying, this is an old build. You don't understand, this is from February. The beta is going to be a lot better than this, like damn. And now we're being told that they have a more polished build, but we're unable to push it for the beta for some reason. So we're apparently again playing an old build. Like, how many times do you expect me to fall for this? Well, okay, let's just wrap it up by saying that the game should not be releasing in 2025. Currently, it seems that the higher-ups at the company are just desperately trying to push the game out ASAP, and that's pretty much it. I think this moment is going to go down in history as the most important decision that the game has ever made. If it's rushed and ends up releasing in the sloppy state, people will not play it. It will only get a fraction of its potential player base and public outreach. A lot of players will have a very negative first impression with it, and That is never good. Besides that, I also want to provide two more specific feedback points. The first one is going to be about the minimap. Currently, their stance is essentially, we also like minimaps, but we really wanted to make Chrono in a way that a minimap is not being used for immersion purposes. That's a good idea, and yes, in theory, a game can be good without a minimap, but unfortunately, not in this case. Just go around and ask average players who got into this beta how often they hit M. This is the easiest way to determine whether a game needs a minimap or not. Every single person I know independently brought up the lack of minimap as a huge issue in Chrono, and they had terrible time spamming M, because in this game, as a player, you are 100% incentivized to use the map, and a minimap in this case would just eliminate unnecessary inconvenience of having to open a huge full-screen UI window that interrupts your gameplay. An addition of a minimap to Chrono will probably be the most impactful QOL that can ever happen to the game at all. And the second thing is regarding the visual style of equipment in this game. Man, holy shit. If anything in Korean games was ever perceived unanimously well by the Western players, it would be the cool looking, hot, and edgy characters. So far, 99% of all equipment that exists in this Chrono beta looks goofy, ugly, and boring. And the rest is just borderline acceptable. This is an easy fix, obviously, and they did mention that one of the major monetization components will be skins, but I think it would make a lot of sense to show at least some of them by now, considering that the game is still scheduled to release in literally a few months. And I don't only mean skimpy, revealing female skins with exposed asses and boobs. No, I totally support more traditional looking medieval style armor, but again, it has to look cool. Lost Ark, Black Desert Online, Throne, BNS, this new Vindictus game. There are so many examples of visually stunning armor and skins. You literally have endless sources of inspiration. So I definitely think that it should be relatively high on their priority list to prepare some decent looking stuff for us before the next beta or whatever release. Because I honestly don't see myself playing this game if I'll have to wear this dog shit the entire time. Overall, I was not particularly disappointed by this beta. The game can be really good and can definitely become the next big MMO for a lot of people. It's just that I'm disappointed by them trying to rush it and seeming to be semi-ignorant towards how polished a game needs to be. I hope it gets delayed for a year or so, but let's see what they cook for us. Peace out.